to Book Your Success, the online show for entrepreneurs, by entrepreneurs, about entrepreneurs. This show spotlights authors who have books which provide information, innovation, and inspiration needed by successful entrepreneurs and business professionals. It includes a special focus on how authors use their book to market and build their brand. Let's join host and entrepreneur Anita Paul with today's guest.
Hello and welcome to Book Your Success. I am your host, Anita Paul, the author's midwife with WriteYourLife.net. We're so glad you joined us. We're here live in the BizLinks TV studios in Atlanta, Georgia, as always. And I want to let you know that we today are happy to be sponsored by Sip for Your Cause. Sip for Your Cause is an elite turnkey fundraising, marketing, and consulting initiative designed to increase cause awareness, funding, sustainability, and organizational impact for nonprofit organizations. So if you have a nonprofit or you work for one, you definitely want to get in touch with Sip for Your Cause. You can reach them at www.sipforyourcause.org to learn how your organization can benefit from their services. And I am very excited today to have in the studio our guest author. Her name is Rena Kilgannon. She is a phenomenal businesswoman. She has been an entrepreneur for many, many years, probably most of her life. Yes. She got her start in the advertising agency business in 1981 here in Atlanta. And then 7 years later, she actually founded her own agency called Kilgannon Incorporated. She sold the firm in 2012. Don't we all wish to do that, right? Build our company big enough and sell it. She sold it in 2012, and now she runs Kilgannon Group LLC, which is a small business consulting firm. She's been profiled in Business to Business magazine as a woman of excellence, and she very much is a woman of excellence. She's also been featured in Working Woman magazine for entrepreneurial excellence, and she's received an award for that. She's a graduate of the Leadership Atlanta class of 2010, and she, of course, is the author of her very first and newly released book titled, What's the Worst That Could Happen? How Women Entrepreneurs Succeed. They ask, they risk, and they put it all on the line. Rena, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Excited.
We put it all on the line,
Everything.
right?
Yes.
So you brought a lot of experience and a lot of expertise and knowledge to this book. Why'd you write it?
I've always wanted to write a book. I mean, since I'm this high. I was telling a friend this morning that there were 3 or 4 things I've always wanted to do, and this was one of them.
So the bucket list stuff that people talk about.
The book was on my bucket list, and having done it is a huge accomplishment, a much bigger accomplishment than I realized.
Well, congratulations. And tell us about the process. Was it what you expected?
No, I thought the process was really disciplined, and I really appreciated that, because otherwise, how would I go about starting, and what would the contents be, and then what order would it go in?
How do you put 25 and 30 years of experience into one book?
Well, you can't. And so what you do is whatever you can remember, you put in the book. No, but I
all of it.
There were just key moments that I knew that I wanted to cover in the book, and I covered it. But after I was finished with the book, I realized that book number 2 is probably on the horizon, and so I can fill in all the stuff that I remembered after the fact.
Exactly. Because you can't put it all in here, right? It would be 500 pages or more.
Yes.
And as they say, why write one big book when you can write 2 or 3 small ones, right?
That's sort of my process. That's where I would like to go.
People want to digest.
That's right. I want to write more. I'll write more.
Of them in there. So tell us about the business, the advertising agency business. How'd you get started and why?
I got started in the advertising agency business sort of by happenstance. I was selling printing services, mailing list services, and I happened into an ad agency, and it struck me. It was magic. As soon as I walked in, I thought, oh my goodness, I want to work here. How do I get a job here? It was just alive and vibrant, and there were so many things that I really wanted to make happen, and I thought, this is it. This is the place for me. And so I sort of kept asking, how do I get into this? How do I start? Where do I start? And a lot of people really wanted to help me, and they gave me some very good tips, and I acted on the tips. And I said, I would like to start, because I had a specialty of direct marketing. There were a lot of ad agencies that didn't have that area to offer their clients.
So this was innovative then, what you were
innovative.
offering?
Yes, at the time.
Very good.
Yeah. So that's how it went.
So you started at the bottom and worked your way up to the top.
Yeah, well, yeah. I guess you
To
could
the
say
very
that.
top.
Yes, the very top.
Absolutely. What
Yeah.
were some of the rough spots in there?
Well, I think the rough spots were, for me, when I started the business, was getting business. Was how was I going to attract
Which a lot of
clients.
entrepreneurs can relate to. We
Yes,
can.
we can. So it was really interesting to me to use a referral network, to ask friends to mention my firm to their friends that maybe had the authority to hire a firm like mine, and that's how I sort of got business. Except when I was in an ad agency and I decided to leave to start my own business, I wanted to bring an existing client with me. So I had to ask that client to come with me.
So you've mentioned asking a
Yes.
couple of times, and that's part of the subtitle.
Yes.
This whole concept of women in particular asking for
Right.
what we want. Why
Right.
is that a
Right.
challenge, and how did you learn to do it strategically?
Well, that's an interesting question. I don't know if it was strategic. I think it was really gut and
Okay.
impulse that really. I kept thinking, title of my book, what's the worst thing that could happen if I asked? The worst thing is that they would say no,
Right.
or what? So there was no
You
other
could
than
survive a
no.
no.
I could survive a no. So I would just keep asking. If I was asking for business, or I would be asking for referrals, I'd be the thing they would say is, I don't have any. And I think women just naturally are more hesitant to ask. So because women are more risk averse in general, that's a risk.
And why
Asking
do you think
is a
we
risk.
are? Why do you think we're risk averse?
Because I think that there's a comfort level in knowing the known part of your life. So if you know that you're working for somebody, you're going to get a paycheck, home life is fine, benefits are good, I don't want to rock the boat, I don't want to go out and start my own business, or maybe I'll ask for a promotion, maybe I won't, maybe I'll ask for a raise, maybe I won't. There's all sorts of instructions on how to ask for a raise or how to ask for a promotion. So women, I think, are much more hesitant to put themselves out there and risk a no.
Okay. I wonder if we feel like we have more to risk. Do we, maybe that we don't have anything else to fall back on, or
I think that's
how it will reflect on us?
I think that's part of it. I think also part of it is that women in general are not comfortable asking in general for anything.
Okay.
So when they do ask, it's a little outside their comfort zone. Some women are fine about going outside their comfort zone, but most are not. I mean, there are studies all sorts of studies that are done about why female business people or women in general are more risk averse and afraid to ask.
Maybe we think too that, why should I have to ask? You should just already know that I want that, right? You should already know that I want your business. You should already know that I want a raise.
I think there's some of that. I think there's some complacency built into that.
Okay.
They'll know to come to me. I don't have to do anything. But oftentimes, that's where they're missing the opportunity.
Exactly.
It's not putting themselves out there. And I think putting themselves out there is too much. There's too much risk. So they don't really want to rock the boat.
Do you think that the B word comes into play?
Yes.
If we ask too
Yes.
much or appear to be
absolutely.
too assertive or aggressive?
Oh yeah. And I think I think I was maybe called that maybe 100 times. I don't know.
You
I don't
lost
know.
count, right?
I've lost count. I don't know. But I will say that it's been sort of a compliment a little bit to be known as a bee.
Wow. Why?
Tough.
Okay.
Tough. I never really took it personally.
Does it
You know,
matter
when I
who
was
it comes
asked
from?
When somebody when I was called that, it was just
Whatever.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't take it personally.
No.
Who cares?
No,
It's
I
about
really
the other
didn't.
person, not
Yeah.
about you. I
Yeah.
get it. So your career has been quite amazing.
Thank you.
You had to have had some role models who
I did.
influenced you in your career.
I had a great role model, which is my Aunt Carol. And she started a business in Manhattan, New York City, in 1959. I think I told you that I came across her business license,
Wow.
which was quite a find.
1959. How many women were in business in 1959?
In New York City,
not that many.
Not that many. And she was 37 years old. And so I think she figured, well, I'm not married. I have no men on the horizon, so I might as well do this. Now, when I was thinking about it, her father was an entrepreneur. So I think it was sort of like, well, if Dad did it, I can do it.
Yeah.
So.
But she inspired you.
Yes.
You watched her grow
I walked
this
into her
business?
office when I was 5 or 6 years old, and I was like,
I want one, too.
I want to be her. I want to be just like her.
Wow.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It's very exciting.
Very good. Well, I want to welcome some folks in the chat room. We've got Jen, Stan, and Jackie. Hello to each of you. We invite you to ask a question or make a comment. I wonder what your experience has been in entrepreneurship, and if you have any advice or questions, advice for other viewers, and obviously questions for Rena here in the studio. How did you learn? We talked a little bit before about asking. How did you learn to actually ask and then get the results that you wanted?
I think that there's a certain naivete that comes with being an entrepreneur, and I think I had like a huge dose of naivete, and I kept thinking, I'll just ask. And people say, oh, that's because you're from New York, but I don't really buy that. I don't really buy that. I know a lot of successful Southern women entrepreneurs, so I had never stepped foot in New York City, so I don't really buy that. But I do buy the naivete thing. And so I think when you're naive, you don't put a lot of thought into it. You're almost like, I had a filter, but sometimes I would just come out and say, excuse me, I would like to be on that board, or I'd like to participate
what do I
in
need
that
to
thing.
do?
What do I have to do? Do I have to ask somebody, call somebody?
Right.
I think people were so struck by my nerve or my, as we say in Yiddish, chutzpah. I don't know what they were thinking, but they would say, well,
okay,
call John, and I'd be okay, and I would actually call John and ask.
And he would say yes.
And he'd say yes.
So I have a friend who says that is called the doofus effect.
Oh, doofus. That
the
would
doofus effect. I don't know any different. Duh.
That sort of applies to me. Well, I now call that the no filter effect, but I do have a filter. I will say.
You just don't use it very often.
When I was asking, I would then
just
go into the no filter effect.
Right. Oh, I didn't know.
I didn't know you're not supposed to ask.
And you weren't even blonde, right?
No, I was not blonde. I never was blonde.
So you can even rely on that, right?
In my hair, but,
right. You can even rely on that. So we've got a question in the chat room. Can men benefit from reading the book?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there are some women-themed points that are raised in the book. But yes, because I don't think that it matters if you're a man or a woman.
Right.
I mean, I really think once you do your homework and you see what you need to do to get what you want, and you know the right people to ask, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. You just have to ask. And I think men get different reactions than women do, but that's business in general.
Right.
So.
And I agree. I think that men can benefit from reading the book. There is one section in the book that I think men can certainly benefit from, and that's your section about sexism in the female entrepreneur.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I think I was a little bit. I might have had the doofus effect during my years. I never really focused on it. I saw it all the time. I ran into it all the time, but I didn't really focus on it. I thought, I'm too busy. I can't really.
Right.
Was that a sex? I don't care. But I always took note of it. So, and I just remember certain situations where being a woman was not a benefit to me.
Okay.
That it was held against me. And sometimes it was very overt, and sometimes a little not so overt.
It was just men, as you say in the book, men behaving badly.
Men behaving badly.
Now, what about the women? When you experienced that sort of pushback
so what is
from
my
women?
quote in that chapter, which is a Madeleine Albright quote, which is
there's
a special place in hell for women that don't help other women.
Right.
Women are funny when they don't like working for other women. it's not pretty.
No,
it's sort of, and you don't always find out right away, particularly when they want a job really badly. So they get into the
super nice
organization,
at first,
super
right?
nice, and then when they get in the organization, you start to pick up little things like they won't look at you in the eye. There are certain things.
So you got to
that
watch
they
your
won't
back
do.
sometimes.
Yeah.
So it exists amongst men and women,
Yes.
unfortunately.
Yes, unfortunately.
Another question in the chat room: is the book for startup businesses or established businesses?
I think startups will learn a lot from it, but I think established businesses will recognize a lot of the challenges that I put in the book, because you don't really run into some of these challenges until you're in business for a few years, and you think, oh my goodness, I feel stuck. Why is the business moving? What am I doing wrong? For startups, I think there's a lot of great tips in terms of always continue your education.
Yes.
Always be curious. There's just a lot of really great tips for startups. So I think both. But I think those that have been in business for a number of years will also pick up some things, and recognize some things in the book that I talk about.
I agree. I think that those startups, even if you're not at the point, where Rena is in the book, you want to learn from her experiences, and hopefully avoid some of the things that you can avoid. One of the things you did mention, though, in the book was continue to learn. Always be learning. Always be, improving your leadership skills, your professional development. Why is that important?
Well, for me, I took sort of a personal approach to this. I never finished college, so for me I always felt a little bit inferior because of that. So I always thought that if I continued my professional education, that at least that would make up for my lack of academic training as an older teenager. But I was always curious about the business, not only how the business worked mechanically, that behind the operations of the industry that I was in, but also the trends. I wanted to make sure that I kept up on trends all the time. And a small agency like mine, we didn't have a lot of budget for training and for things like that. So I'd make sure that I would go out and get it and then disseminate the information internally. So I was just relentlessly curious about the business. I still am. I think it's a fascinating industry.
Yeah. So then that just really undergirds the importance of, you mentioned trends, and that trends are in every industry. It doesn't matter what.
Correct.
And you do want to be on top of your game. Why?
Well,
because your employees, your clients, everybody's looking at you.
And also in a competitive business situation, when you're pitching new business, you want to make sure that you understand what the trends are and where you're going to take this client, because your competitors are doing the exact same thing. So you've got to make sure that at least is being covered. So somebody in the organization has to know about it. So if you're not hiring in great talent that's sort of on the cutting edge, then you have to put yourself there.
Okay. So the idea of pitching new business, ongoing, always in the advertising agency business.
A lot of industries.
You brought some interesting skills to the presentation process.
Yes.
Talk about that.
I mentioned earlier that one of the things I've wanted to do since I was a child was write a book. One of the other thing that I always wanted to do since I was a child was be an actor. So I thought one morning when I first started the business, actually, I woke up and said, I don't want to wake up and be 50 years old and turn around and look back and say, why didn't I do these things? So while I was running this fledgling little business, I took acting lessons at the Alliance Theater.
In your spare time.
I had no spare time, but yes, in my spare time. And that was great, and I got some community acting roles and loved it. But then I had to make a choice, and I had to run the business because I wanted to run the business because I loved the business. But what it taught me was a lot of really good presentation techniques and skills that I was a fair presenter, not a great presenter last time. Before I took acting lessons, and then I took acting lessons and learned a lot more about
that. There really is
presenting.
some, I don't want to say drama in a bad way, but
There's
there is some theater.
There's
That's what I
theater
mean.
in presentations. In our business, because we're a visual, sort of sexy business.
You need the wow factor.
You need the wow factor. You need the theater in the room.
Yeah.
And so you have to work hard at not just your PowerPoint presentations, but you also have to work hard at the method and
interacting with other people who are presenting with you.
And usually in an ad agency, you're presenting with a team. And so you're rarely presenting on your own. So in presenting with a team, you have to know who's speaking first, who's speaking next. You can't like stand up and sit down and then what's the order? Don't talk about yourself is like the big thing.
Yeah.
You're not there to talk about yourself.
Yeah.
So we had to just remind each other of that all the time.
Those things might seem small, but
They're
they
not
matter
small.
when you're
They
trying to
matter.
win business.
And when your competitors are so large and so impressive.
So
and
you
you're
competed
small,
against larger,
Yeah.
like way larger
way larger
agencies.
Big.
What was that
Global
like?
agencies.
Intimidating?
Well, we never presented with them at the same time,
Right,
so,
but for the same-
but for the same piece of
Project,
business.
yeah.
No, I had a rule that I knew who was in the competitive mix, but then that was it. Then I wouldn't worry about them. So some other members of my staff would say, but they're going to do this and they're going to do that, and I can't worry about that. Let's just stay on task. What we're going to do, and we're so sparkly that we're going to win the business.
Of course, positive thinking.
And we did. And at
Good.
times we did beat out a lot of the big global agencies.
So how large did you grow the agency people-wise? How many employees did
I
you
think
have?
at our height we had 40.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you manage all those personalities and...
Yes. It was hard. Now, I had great managers. I had really, really great managers. I didn't personally manage them. So they had
Right.
supervisors
That they
and
reported to,
department
yeah.
heads that they reported to.
Yeah.
And they reported to me.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah.
That is the dream, I think, of a lot of businesses is to grow that large. And so the advice in this book is extremely helpful no matter what point you are in your entrepreneurial journey. The author and our guest today is Rena Kilgannon, and the title of the book is What's the Worst That Could Happen? It's all about women asking, taking risk, and putting it all on the line. We will be back shortly after this commercial break here on Book Your Success.
What happens when soldiers come home? Brene Foundation offers hero support to ensure that our heroes abroad can continue to be heroes at home. We link veterans with organizations who are dedicated to guiding the transition from military hero to civilian hero. If you want to find out how you can support our troops at home, please contact the Brene Foundation or visit Brene.com.
If you're running a small business these days, you know it's important to connect with your current customers. If you don't stay in touch, they'll forget why you're special. But not if you use email marketing from ConstantContact.com. Constant Contact is the easy, affordable way to reach your current customers. You can upload your logo, add pictures, and promote specials, even make a coupon. Remind your customers why your small business is special with ConstantContact.com. Prices as low as $15 a month.
All right, welcome back to Book Your Success. Again, I'm your host, Anita Paul with WriteYourLife.net, and we are in the studio with Rena Kilgannon, author of What's the Worst That Could Happen? We are talking about women in entrepreneurship, but I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor for this show, SIP for Your Cause. They are all about helping nonprofit organizations with sustainability and fundraising, and if you want to get some information on how your organization can benefit, be sure to get in touch with them at www.sipforyourcause.org. All right, so welcome back to everybody who's in the chat room. Go ahead and log in so we can say hello and shout out your name. But I see we have another question, and this is really generic, but we're what's the worst that can happen when running a business? There's a million things I could tell you that, but we don't even have time for all of that. What do you think is the worst thing that could happen when you run your business?
I think I was telling you a little anecdote about a friend of mine who works for a woman-owned company, small woman-owned company, about 15 employees. I think the worst that can happen is not knowing how to run your business, the operations side of your business, how to price correctly, what your payroll is going to be like, what your intellectual property is. I mean, the operations side of the business is so crucial to the success of running the business that you're in. And there's a chapter in my book that addresses that, like, know the business of your business. So that's the worst that can happen.
Right.
Because you can have a great product, go out and sell it, be very successful, But if the business behind the scenes is not running well, there's nothing you can do about selling a product.
And that goes back to keep learning, because it's more than just the stuff you like to do.
No,
It's more than
no.
just whatever your expertise is, advertising or writing or, editing, whatever it might be. You've got to know how to run a business.
You have to know how to run a business.
Wow. So, one of the other things you talk about in the book is the value of trusted advisors.
Oh, yeah.
Where do they come in when it comes to the operations of your business and being able to have somebody kind of to lean on?
Well, yeah. I think that's, I've always relied on other people, and that's where the asking comes in as well. Because I know what I don't know. That I always knew. I always knew what I didn't know.
Okay.
And so when I don't know how to do something, I will reach out and find out who knows how to do it the best in my particular industry. Because they need to know the nuances of my business category in order to give advice. And I would find them. I would rely on my trade association to give me, these are the top advisors in this area or that area. And then I would call them and bring them in. And it would cost us a lot of money. But then,
Right, but it was worth it,
but
right?
it was
in the long run.
really worth it.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So I've really relied on advisors throughout my 25-year career.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So, another group of people you relied on is your business partners.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about how you found business partners. And there were some dynamics with some, I'm sure. It's not always easy when you bring somebody else in to your baby. You created this. How did that work?
This goes back to knowing what I don't know. I had reached a point in the business where the business was getting smarter than me. Like the clients that I was attracting were smarter than me, and I couldn't keep up with them. So I needed to bring in some people that I knew had done this before and maybe were available to help me. And maybe they were available to help me on a consultative basis, not necessarily a partner basis. So my first partner, Rick McReynolds, was a consultant to us, to our biggest client, because he had worked on a similar type of client in his previous life. So he worked with us for a short period of time as a consultant, and we just clicked. Everything was just running on all cylinders. And he said, I'm really interested in this. And this was his second career, because he was in his late 50s at this point, and he thought, maybe I'll do this.
Take it easy.
Yeah, it's fun to take it easy. But he'd never owned a business, never been a partner before, so he thought, okay, now I never would give up 100% control. Or I always wanted to be the managing partner, the partner with the most stock. So
why is that important?
Because I founded the business. I wanted to be the one that, if a final decision had to be, or the last hard decision had to be made, I wanted it to be mine.
Good.
And he was okay with that. So he just took 49%, and I had 51%, and he was a great partner.
Good deal.
And then also Mike Reinick, who was always my freelance CFO. When I was in business a few years, he was the one that said that I was insolvent after 2 years.
Thanks for your honesty.
Which happens
You need
to
that.
every business. They start out, they're a little rocky on the finances. But and he was a consultant to me. And then when Rick became a partner, a year later, Mike became a partner. A few years later after that, Rick retired. It was a great party. There was nothing, and then I took on a third partner, which was not so great, but that was okay.
The ups and downs. You learn from it all. You learn from it all. So partnership can be good.
Can be good, can be not so good.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you look for? I mean, obviously there needs to be some contractual issues.
We went through attorneys. We did all the right things. We had all kinds of shareholders agreements and promissory notes, and everything was, every I was dotted, every T was crossed.
Cool.
We're sort of legally sensitive to make sure.
That's a good thing.
So,
Always be smart about that. What's Rena's top advice for getting unstuck? And you work with female entrepreneurs.
Yes.
You do the consulting with women who are just kind of stuck.
Yeah.
Right? We're at a point, we've grown our business to a point, and then we're like, we want to go there, but we're just stuck right here. How do we get unstuck?
I think what you have to do is take a big fat step back and then start listing what your vision is for the business moving forward and what's keeping you from getting to that vision. It could be a family at home is keeping you from getting to that vision. It could be an employee. It could be any kind of a financial issue that you can't resolve that's keeping you from moving it forward. So often taking a step back, listing sort of what your accomplishments are, because obviously there have been successes. So what are they, and how did you get there, and how do you revisit that by taking that big step back and saying, wait a minute, what's in my way?
Right. We
And
sometimes
sort of
have to remind
identifying-
ourselves what we've accomplished,
yes,
right? We're so
yes.
busy doing it and,
Yes.
and going forward.
And
forget.
I really think it's a question of taking that step back, listing your accomplishments, looking at it and saying, I really want it, and what is it going to take to get there? And sometimes it's money. And how are you going to get that money? Well, I think you have to look at where you can get that money, whether it's a loan or whether it's, what I call the what you borrow from family and friends.
Right.
However it is, if it's a money issue. If it's a time issue, then I think it's a question of prioritization and organization and things of that nature. So everybody's situation is unique, but there's a process that I'll coach some executives through, and often that's what have your successes been to date. Let's celebrate them, and let's figure out how
to capitalize
how you got there.
Good. So give us an idea of who you consult with, what types of businesses, what size.
Yeah, I usually consult with women in professional services. I rarely consult with women that are in manufacturing space or retail space because I don't have a lot of experience bringing it. But for professional services, advertising agency sort of fits into that. So attorneys, accountants, people that offer services. I know there's a woman that offers recruitment services, so I work with her. So there's all sorts of anything in the professional services space that I can offer advice on. Usually there's a threat. You're in professional services, your intellectual property walks out the door every single day. And that's your biggest expense is your salary and your overhead. So it's a question of how do you manage it. So I understand how that works.
Okay.
So those are the best clients for me are those in professional services.
Good deal. So how are you going to be using the book in your consulting business? I know you do some teaching and some speaking as well.
Yes, I just was invited to speak at Kennesaw State University, a class on innovation and creativity. And there was most of the people there were corporate people. But they want to bring some creativity and innovation into their corporations. There's a lot of issues that I talk about in the book that they are also facing when they have to sort of take a risk by being the one to break through in terms of introducing some innovation into the corporation. There's confidence, there's fear, there's failure. I mean, all that's covered in the book. Right. So so part of what I want to do with the book is sort of spread the word about how it's okay to be afraid, to maybe not have so much confidence as you think you should have, to fail, because all good businesses at some point will fail. Pick yourself up, rejigger a little bit, pick yourself up, and start again. Right. I mean, it's what I think I said in the book. I thought I was making a lot of money until somebody said after 2 years that I had a poopy balance sheet, and they said you have to cut your salary and you have to cut your overhead by 70%. 70.
Wow! Ouch!
Yeah. So I went from 2,600 square feet office space to 700.
Oof.
My salary went from $60,000 to $18,000.
And so rolling in the dough, right?
I was like, wow, you two can own your own business and earn $18,000 a year.
Yay! That's
for several
success.
years. But that was fine.
But you did what you had
I
to
had
do.
to.
And what was the worst that happened? You got through it and you succeeded.
Yeah.
25 years later, sold the business, and here you are as a published author.
Now an author.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell us how we can order the book.
Well, you can go to Amazon.com. It's on Amazon.com and order the book, or you can go to my website, www.renakilgannon.com. The book is available there as well.
Excellent. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much, Nina.
Love the book. Trust me, everybody, you're going to absolutely love this book. Again, that's RenaKilgannon.com, or you can order the book from Amazon.com. And we're glad that you joined us in the chat room today. I hope that you will be back with us again next time on Book Your Success. I want to give one final shout out to our sponsor, SIP for Your Cause. Again, for those nonprofit organizations who need assistance with fundraising, sustainability, and operational success, be sure to get in touch with them, sipforyourcause.org. And we'll see you next time on Book Your Success.
Thank you for joining us. Today's show can be viewed again in archives on our website at www.bizlinks.tv. If you are an entrepreneur and would like to appear on the program to discuss your book and share how you utilize it to enhance your business platform, submit an inquiry to Book Your Success at bizlinks.tv. In addition, addition, information on advertising and hosting your own show can be found on our website at www.bizlinks.tv.